Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Smoke Pit. This episode is sponsored by TeleMYND, providing mental health services to military, veterans, and their families. I'm joined today by Grant Kahn, an ambassador over at TeleMYND, who's going to talk a little bit about what TeleMYND does and how you, the listener, can benefit from their services. So without further ado, Grant, welcome to the Smoke Pit.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you are an ambassador for TeleMYND, correct?
I am an ambassador for TeleMYND. Yeah, once I learned about the service, I knew that I had to, use the following that I had, even though it's not as big as some other, people out there, but I knew that I had to use the following that I had to get the word out there about this service.
Right. And that's, of course, TeleMYND provides free mental health to military veterans and their families, correct?
Yeah, military veterans through the VA, or if you have TRICARE, and then for families and dependents as well, which is huge.
Okay. So how did you end up getting plugged in with them? I mean, you've got a military background yourself, correct? You were Navy, yeah?
I was in the Navy, yeah. I spent 13 years in the Navy, came in as an E1 electrician, had no idea what a screwdriver even looked like. But they were like, you know what? This is what you got going for you. You're not a citizen. You don't have your driver's license. You didn't do the best on your ASVAB. Electrician. I'm like, okay. I'm like, can I do anything?
Fudge that part of your ASVAB a little bit to get you in there, huh?
Yeah. They're like, I said, can I do anything in aviation? They go, no, your depth perception sucks too. I go, all right. Then they offered me 10 grand for another year, and I turned it down. So I'm just going to do 4 years and get out. Lost out on that. But yeah, multiple platforms, multiple deployments, did, regular electrician stuff, did counter-piracy, counter-narcotic boardings, did some translating between Russia and Ukraine. Overall, it was a great time. I got out May 28th of 2021, so coming up on my 2-year mark here. Wow. And, I'll say that civilian world is a lot less stressful, but it just opens up a door to a new type of stress. You have the stress in the military, and then that kind of all goes away, and then the stress of the civilian world comes in. But right around kind of like, I would say, probably around like when I was 9 years into the military, into the Navy, I lost 2 of my very close friends to, their battle with mental health. And I battled mental health myself when I was an E5, and I went up and I got help. And I was able to continue to progress through the ranks, and I went from E5 to E7 and continued to get awards and didn't lose my clearance. And you had some people talk shit about me, here and there, but you just that's going to be with anywhere. There's always going to be people talking shit about you. Doesn't matter if you're the most perfect person in the world.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's it's like this taboo, like trying to get help for your head is like this unspeakable thing in the military. It's why, we don't call mental health professionals we call them the wizard, because it's just softer. It's easier to say. Every hospital seems to have its code, like on Benning, I think we didn't say we're going to mental health. We're going to the 4th floor at the hospital. That's all. Anything to say, to say anything other than I'm having trouble with my mental health.
Yeah. And the way that I would explain it is like, listen, when I'm talking to someone that's like going through a mental health crisis, or they're having issues and they say, well, I don't want to go get help. I'm like, listen, this is no different than like a broken arm. It is no different, just now your brain needs to be fixed a little bit, and you have to go see the correct provider to do that. That's the big thing. So yeah, I lost my friends, and I started to think like, first of all, why is the military not talking about this more? You have your PDFs about, this is why you should not commit suicide. That's pretty much where it ends. You have your slideshow that you have to go through once a year about, mental health and anti-suicide, and then nobody ever talks about it again.
Right. So, like, that's going to do it. You're going to sit through this slideshow, this PowerPoint presentation. You go, I was thinking about it, but they say it's not a good idea, so maybe I just won't.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? The slideshow convinced me. The 15 slide deck, that really convinced me. I'm not going to do it. So I probably did one of the, biggest public affairs nightmares out there. I didn't ask anyone in my chain of command. I was at E7 at the time. I put on my uniform and I made a video. I put it on Reddit talking about mental health and the things that I've been through, and I put my phone number out there. And I didn't expect the response that I got from it. And I just had people from every single branch starting to reach out to me, either saying I had mental health issues and I got help, or I'm having mental health issues. How do I get help? And that evolved into creating this task force that we call Joint Task Force Zero that involved service members from every single branch, work mostly anonymously. And we would source social media. We would make ourselves known that, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. And if you know someone who's struggling, to let us know. Or if you see a post that someone is posting suicidal ideations on social media, to just tag us and we'll take it from there. In a year, we intervened directly with over 150 people that were going through a mental health crisis, just completely on our own time. You had the easy ones that were like, well, none of them were really easy, but you had the simpler ones to where it was like, hey, like I'm struggling, I don't know what to do. And we just talk to them and they go get the help that they need. And then you had the serious ones to where someone called me and they had a gun and they said, I'm about to shoot myself and I want you to be the last person that I speak to. And, these group of volunteers were, literally able to save lives on how quickly they worked. I mean, we would get an anonymous phone call and within 41 minutes, that's how long it took. I know that's a very specific time, but I remember that's how long the phone call took. Within 41 minutes, we go from an anonymous phone call to first responders at the door getting that service member.
Yeah, you said we. I mean, how many, you had volunteers working with you as well? Like, how did that come to be? How'd you end up with this team of volunteers?
Yeah, so honestly, it was just, I kept putting this stuff out there, and then these service members raised their hands themselves. They're like, hey, if I could ever help you in any way, please let me know. Like, I've struggled too, and, I want to get my story out there like you did. And when it got to the point to where I couldn't handle it myself, just like I didn't have the bandwidth to do it, I started reaching out to them and I was like, let's do this. Let's make this group. And our job was to have at least one representative from every branch that has access to, like open source information, things that people post publicly, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or, whatever it is. We never did anything as far as like something being secret or diving into, like records or anything like that. We never did something like that, but we just made sure that the people that we did have on our team knew how to use openly posted information to locate someone.
There you go. And I'm assuming that came into play when you were dealing with this 41-minute phone call. If you had first responders at their house, like how did that go?
Yeah. So it was, got on the call and, this service member, I'm not going to say whether it's, a male or a female. This service member was just saying that they didn't want to give me any information, name, location, platforms that they were on or what base that they were on. And slowly, as I was having a conversation with them, they were revealing little things like, I was in for this many years. This is what I do. I'm on, this type of platform. And then as I was giving that information, relaying that to the team was kind of like digging in and narrowing it down to fewer and fewer and fewer service members until we had a
like when gets who.
Exactly.
And they have a beard? Do they wear a hat?
Exactly. That's like the perfect way to put it. And we narrowed it down to 5 people that it could be. And we called every single command and we were like, this is what we think is going on. I don't want to scare you and say that is your service member, but potentially it can be. And the commands were, very willing to give us the information that we needed. And, as soon as we called the right command and they're like, that actually matches up exactly to one of the service members that we have here. And here's their address. And, we got local law enforcement involved and they were able to come in and intervene directly.
Was your volunteer force from like across all branches or was it predominantly guys you knew in the Navy?
Across all branches, all ranks. I mean, we had E1s, we had O6s, and that just showed like the power behind it to where people like legitimately are out there and they want to help, but because of some of the red tape that, just naturally comes with the military and speaking openly about it, they couldn't until this opportunity came up. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, the only branch we didn't have was the Space Force, but I don't think it existed when this is going on.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I guess it makes sense that, you said that you had people from all branches looking for help. And there's this misconception, and it's even perpetuated within the Navy, that if you're not like Army or Marine infantry, you probably don't have it too bad. And I remember, what was it, the USS George Washington, when they were approaching 10 suicides in as many months. You had one of the most senior members of the Navy come onto the ship and say, "Hey, at least you guys aren't living in a foxhole like a Marine or something."
Yeah,
Like, are you fucking serious? Like,
Yeah,
you're going to say that to your people? Really? You're going to diminish the mental health issues of your branch, your entire branch, because they're not sleeping in a foxhole?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, 10 of your people just killed themselves in 10 months. Get fucked. Exactly. Are you kidding me?
Exactly. Lower your standards, right? Like, what can you expect to join the military? Well, which to a point, like, I get it. You are in the military, and, you are expected to have a certain level of grit and a certain level of toughness. However, even the strongest people out there break at some point. I don't care if, you're a Navy SEAL with 30 years in and you shot Osama bin Laden. At some point, you're going to break. And it's important to know that at that point, or once you're approaching that point, that, you need to know the resources that are out there, and you need to be able to ask for help. And like for me, for example, when I was going through treatment, I was out in San Diego, and kind of like what you said, people think that, you either have to be like infantry or Marines or, for this to affect you. And I'm sitting in this office waiting, and the door opens and I see someone getting wheeled in, in a wheelchair, no legs. And I'm like, I feel like the biggest piece of shit right now. Here's this guy that straight up lost his legs in battle, being carried up, because no elevator. How that makes sense, I have no idea. Carried up the stairs in a wheelchair in San Diego to see this clinic. And I'm sitting here, both legs, both arms, just because, some stuff is going on with my head. And when I went in to see the provider, I was like, listen, let's make this quick, because that guy out there needs it probably a little bit more than me. And the provider is like, I don't want you to think that. Everyone is completely different. Everyone operates completely differently. Everyone's brain is different. What impacts one person might not impact the next. And, everyone deserves the fair and equal treatment, that you get. It doesn't matter what branch you're in, doesn't matter what you did, doesn't matter what you experienced. If you're having mental health issues, I want to tell you, like, a dumb one for me is, how you get like woken up, like you have fire watch, or, whatever it is, like you get woken up for watch, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the Navy, you're sleeping in the coffin racks, and they're metal, and getting woken up at 2:00 in the morning by someone banging on this metal rack, or shining a flashlight in your face, or like throwing the curtains open. Those sounds now are very triggering to me. Like, I hate the sound of someone knocking. If someone knocks on my door, I get like chills down my spine. Like it just like it happens, because like whenever someone would wake you up, it's either you're late or shit is hitting the fan. Like when I was in the electrical world, people would wake you up. I mean, we lost power to the entire ship. We need to go man aft diesel. We need to get power back. Or there's a fire in the engineering space. There's flooding in the engineering space. So your mind is automatically connected to that, to that like catastrophe or whatever that's going on. So now, like, whenever someone knocks, just stop, just ring my doorbell, or just don't come to my house at all. Like, please, like, you are not welcome. Don't come to my house. But yeah, like, so we started this task force. It was doing extremely well.
Well, hang on. Before you get into the task force, I got to kind of make fun of you a little bit, because I mean, this whole like, triggered PTSD response to Firewatch is some of the most Navy shit I've ever heard.
You know what? Hey, that's the thing, and that was just like a little piece of the Navy, and I didn't, I didn't get
diminish what you went through. I know.
Not otherwise. No, but that's not where mine came, bro. We're just like, I never went to a provider and said, yo, like when people knock, that shit sucks, you know? But I like went for some other issues that I went through. But just going to say that, like, it doesn't matter like what happened. You don't have to have like rounds flying over your head. You know, it could be something small, it could be something big, but if it's bothering you, go see someone, you know, because it's not going to get better. These things don't get better. These things only get worse and worse and worse, and they'll progress into other things, you know, like,
It's true.
you know,
Yeah. It's like we said, you know, a lot of little bleeding adds up to big bleeding.
exactly.
You got tons of little shrapnel wounds. Well, all right, they might be minor one at a time, but when you're fucking peppered with shrapnel, hang on, this is serious.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, you know. And again, back to the George Washington, man, it was the same thing, you know. Shitty living conditions, no heat, no power. I mean, you know, all right, fine, no heat, dude. Like, calm down. You're in the military. You can deal with it. Oh, you got to walk 45 minutes to. All right, you know, deal with it. It's a walk. You're in the military. But all of this adding up for months and months and months, it wears you down so that when something big does happen, it's not a little nudge on the shoulder. It's a crack in the mouth.
Yeah, exactly. And at the same time, though, like, you know, we have to, or the military has to get to the point to where we're treating our service members like they are service members, like they volunteered for this. It's not, they weren't drafted and forced to where you could put them in shitty living conditions when they're stateside, not deployed, you know, and just on a base somewhere. Like, our service members should not be dealing with mold in their barracks. That is ridiculous. They shouldn't be dealing with, you know, when a ship is being overhauled or in the yards. I've been in the yards many times. It shouldn't be the way that it is. You know, like, they shouldn't have a bunch of people on the ship. They shouldn't, you know, be in these types of conditions where there's no hot water. Like, there's no hot water. Okay, like, fix it. You know, like,
something.
Yeah, like, there's ways to fix it, but our military just either doesn't want to, or they're still focusing on that, you know, tough it out. Lower your standards, you know what I mean? Like, you're not in a foxhole, just like, you know, that some of the previous leaders said. Our leadership in the military is seeing that there are issues that are fixable. And I understand that there are some things that are not fixable or that you just can't do. But these are, like you said before, all little things that add up, and it's leadership's responsibility to get after those little things, because it's easier to take care of little things than to take care of one big one. And it's kind of like that whole be proactive, not reactive thing. Like, we have to get better at that.
So enter TeleMYND. All right. So let's say you're a service member, because this is the issue, man. Like, you got service members that do raise their hand. They finally, you know, muster the balls to raise their hand and say, "Hey, I need help, man. I need to talk to somebody." And, you know, what typically happens when someone asks for help?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that, you know, I faced while I was doing this stuff with, you know, the task force that we created, which I will say was never officially recognized by the military. So one of the things was, you know, someone called me and they said that they were struggling, and I was able to talk on the phone with them, and I convinced them to go to the emergency room, and they went, and they were admitted for 3 days, and they got out of the emergency room. And just like any time you go to the emergency room, they're going to give you the standard follow up with your PCM. Mm-hmm. So this service member followed up with their PCM, and the PCM said, "I do agree you have mental health issues. Here's a referral." They got the referral. The wait was 3 months to see a provider. Someone that was just admitted into an emergency room for suicidal ideations does not have 3 months. They don't have 3 days. They need to be seen right away, you know, or at least know that it's not going to be a 3-month wait. It's going to be a 2-week wait. You know, at least the light at the end of the tunnel is that much closer. So unfortunately, that service member did end up taking their own life, just because that end goal was so far away, and they just couldn't wait that long.
They didn't make it the 3 months.
No.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. So as a service member, you go in, you ask for help. They put you on this 3, 4, 5, 6 month wait list. You know you don't have time. What do you do?
So right now, what I tell to everyone is, when you go to see your PCM, to see your MTF, whoever it is, and you tell them that you're having a mental health emergency, you need to tell them, I want a referral to TeleMYND. You have to tell them. They might not know, like, and that's one big thing on why I'm doing this, just for the awareness piece. A lot of providers don't know about the service.
Okay.
And you have to be like, I want a referral to TeleMYND. I want to be seen by TeleMYND. And then, once they have that referral, you can go in and, start with the appointment process and get matched up with a caregiver and, start getting the help that you need. That's for active duty service members. But the great thing is for dependents, let's say that active duty service member has a son or a daughter or whoever, or a spouse, they don't even need a referral. They can just go to the website and start the process. And
it's that simple. They don't need to talk to anyone. Just click on the website and boom, they're in.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I mean, that's game changing.
Yeah. When I was in, you always hear like, oh, like military spouse is the hardest working job, and you think to yourself, okay, like we are the ones getting deployed. We are the ones in the
calm down, hero.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
I know the commissary can get rough.
Yeah. But like when I got out, and especially like working remotely now, and I only see a little piece of it because I'm at home, but like imagine like when the service member is gone for 6 months and you have your spouse at home and they're taking care of the kids and taking care of the bills and taking care of the house. That's a lot of shit. It's a lot. And then when you come home, you have that time to when you're getting used to the kids again, and you're getting used to your spouse again, and you're getting used to the regular way of life. And that takes a toll on the spouse too. And you may not see it, like my wife, she hit it pretty well, but like it was having an effect on her. And I know that it's having an effect on my kids. Even like now that I'm out, some of the values that, I don't know if you want to call it values, but some of the things that the military instilled in me, like I inadvertently am pushing on my kids, like shit needs to be up to and touching, make your damn bed every morning.
Loud use, neurotic obsession.
Exactly. Minor OCD, like, and I push that down on my kids, and that affects my kids. And like, once you see that, it's like, there's like, dependents need to know. Dependents need to know about it. Spouses need to know about it, especially like when it comes to kids. Like, these kids are so overexposed to shit right now. It's insane, like when I was 13 years old, the biggest thing that I was overexposed to was the Staten Island Advance, which is like where I grew up, and my friends calling me like big head or alien or immigrant or something like that. You know what I mean? Kids now, they have all of that. And on top of that, they have social media. On top of that, they have all these things that are just in the palm of their hands that they're looking, and they're soaking in all of this information. Some of it's good. A lot of it is bad. Like, I'll give you an example. My 5-year-old was watching YouTube Kids, and then she started talking about her weight, and she was starting to talk about how she was fat. And I'm like, where are you getting this from? And it was, she was on YouTube Kids, and she was watching a gymnast, and the gymnast was like, oh, like, I need to cut down weight. I need to do this. I need to do that. And like I said, that's like fucking these kids up. And as all of that adds up, kind of like we were talking about before, there is a breaking point. And with a service like TeleMYND, they don't have to go through the whole process of referrals and PCMs and seeing all these people and this and that. They just go to the website and they have their assessment and they go from there. And we actually, before I knew about TeleMYND, we found a provider here out in town, and we pulled up to that place. We didn't even get out of the car. It was bad. It was bad. The windows were straight up boarded up. Like, straight up windows were boarded up. It was not, yeah. I'm like, are we in the right spot? And I called, and they're like, hello, whatever. I'm like, hey, is this the right address? Like, I see the windows are boarded up. They're like, yeah, come on in. I'm like, okay.
No, I fucking think I won't.
Yeah, we're not going in there. Like, I might as well.
Trying to keep people out or trying to keep people in. Either way, this is making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was like, I might as well have this meeting in a damn basement, But again, like, especially like when it comes to kids, like they might be uncomfortable not being in their element, not being in a comfortable place or in a place that they recognize. So having a service like this to where like they can go to their room, close the door, be next to all of their stuffies and toys or whatever, and speak with a provider is like literally game changing. Like it's life saving and game changing, and that's why like I push this service so much. And then when it comes to veterans,
Yes,
and
please.
yeah, because that's it. It's not. Unfortunately, it's not 22 anymore. We need to step it up on the push-ups because now I want to say like the last number is like 40 plus. So I want to say it's like 44, which if you think about it, like 40 plus veterans are killing themselves every day.
Is that really the new assessment?
Yeah.
Jesus, man.
And it's wild. Like the fact that this is happening and some people just turn a blind eye to it, like that's insane. That's someone's sister, that's someone's brother, that's someone's dad or mom. And I just saw a post like 2 days ago, I think. I just saw a post and it was a service member posting like, today I'm going to be part of, Hero 22 and Hero this big thing on, why. And he unfortunately lost his life, and it's literally happening every single day. Not out more, not overseas, in Richmond, Virginia, in Jacksonville, Florida, in San Diego, California. So as a veteran, I'll say your job, because like at the end of the day, it's like it starts with you. You need to be like, I am struggling, and this is something that's going on, and I'm going to say it, go to the VA, right? And I know there's like this
That's
big
a hard sell, man. That's a hard sell.
I know. I know it's a hard sell, but you got to go to the VA. And
want to go to the VA.
Like I'm someone who does have TRICARE, and I don't have to go to the VA, but I sucked it up, and I'm like, you know what? Let's go to the VA. And I went to the one here in St. Augustine, Florida, and I shit you not, it looks like a Mexican restaurant or like a Taco Bell from the outside.
Hang on, this is starting to sound a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know who designed it,
right? But like if I could get some OEF help and a Nachos Bel Grande, this is sounding promising. Hang on.
Like when you get the chance, or I don't know if you could like pull it up on screen, just look up like St. Augustine VA, and you'll see, and you'll be like who designed this building? But like I walk in, and I will say like VA experiences, they differ from the wherever you go. So I don't want to speak for all of them, but one of the biggest things that I hear from a lot of veterans is like, I miss the clowns but not the circus, and when you walk into that VA and you're in the waiting room, all of those clowns are there. They're there in that waiting room, and it doesn't matter if they're Desert Storm clowns or if they're like OIF or whatever it is. They're there, and they will sit there and they will talk shit to you, and they will just like regular service member conversation. And it almost like gave me that feeling back of like when I was back in the military. You know what I mean? Like it gave me like that little feeling of belonging.
Yeah,
like, hey, like this is legit. Like these are all of my people, because it's very rare unless you go to like a VFW, which I'm not planning on going into for at least until I'm like 85. But unless you go into one of those, which VFWs also are great, like it gave me almost like that feeling of like belonging, But I went in and I spoke to my doctor, and I told them the issues that I was having with my mental health, and she was like, well, do you want a mental health appointment? And I said, yes. And she's like, all right, well, let's go around the corner right now. And I was like, wait, no, I can't right now. Like I have work and stuff that I need to get to. But, just saying that, like, it's, it's there. And I rescheduled the appointment. I went and I spoke to this mental health provider, and I asked them, like, you have to ask for the referral to be seen, with TeleMYND or with a different resource. You have to ask them. And again, if they don't know it, you have to educate them. You have to be like, well, look it up. I know it's in coverage. I know it's in policy. Please look it up and do it. And I'll give you like an example of that is I was pruning my damn palm trees, and palm trees have thorns. Who knew? I didn't know. And
Anyone who's been stabbed by one in Iraq knows.
I did not know. I did not know. So like, and I had my PPE on. I had a set of gloves, and this thorn went through my glove into my knuckle, broke apart in my knuckle. And I thought of like I pulled it out.
No, nope, you're fucked.
Yeah, I thought like nothing of it. Then like an hour later, my hand is starting to swell. I'm starting to lose mobility, and my wife looks it up and she's like, "You need to go to the fucking emergency room." And I'm like, "It can't be that bad." And she shows me pictures, and these hands are just blown up, cut open. I'm like, okay, let's go to the emergency room. This is in Florida. I get to the emergency room, and they come out into the waiting area, and they're like, "All right, well, where's the thorn?" I'm like, I took it out. They're like, "Okay, well, why are you here?" Like, what do you mean, why am I here? Because this is a thing. Like, it's called palm thorn arthritis. Like, oh, we've never heard of it. Like, what?
How does a doctor in Florida not? That's like a doctor in New Mexico not knowing how to treat a fucking snake bite.
Exactly. I was like shocked, and I'm like, listen, this is a real. And at this point, they brought in multiple doctors, and I know like doctors are extremely knowledgeable. You know what I mean? I'm not like saying anything bad about doctors, but they just didn't know about this, and they looked it up literally in front of me on their phone. They looked it up, and they're like, "Oh shit, this is real." And like,
yeah, when your doctor's on WebMD on their phone in front of you.
Yeah. And like, they like prescribed me some like antibiotics and imaging and stuff like that. But that was only after I told them what was going on and like what to look into. So if you are a veteran and you go to the VA and you say that, hey, you want to be outsourced because I don't want to be put on the wait list or whatever it is, and you ask them to give you a referral to TeleMYND and they don't know, ask them to look it up. You just ask them or like tell them to look it up, and that would be the way that veterans are able to go and get treatment using this service. And again, like from the comfort of their home or from the comfort of like, a coffee shop or their friend's house or their mom's house or whatever it is, but you're not driving to see the provider. You're not driving 30, 45, an hour and a half to see a provider. You're not waiting in a waiting room. You're not taking time out of your day, trying to find childcare, trying to, get off of work or it's, at your comfort,
And more importantly, you're not continuing to be driven to the edge on a 3-month wait list.
Exactly. And that backlog, like, again, I thought it was only in the military, but like now that I'm out, I see that it's part of the civilian world too. Like the backlog is very, very real because more and more people are realizing that like mental health is a fucking thing.
Yeah, like, this post-COVID mental health era. Yeah, it's real.
Yeah, like it's very, very real, and that backlog is only going to start getting bigger. And when the service out there exists that focuses on military and on veterans and on spouses and dependents, you kind of have, I almost think like you're at the club. And, you have all the people waiting to get into the club, and like the bouncer has the little red rope over there.
Yeah.
TeleMYND is those people that like move the red rope and let a few people from the back cut the line because they know them. Like that's like the best way to put it.
That's great. That's an amazing analogy. I like.
Yeah, like that just came to me like as I'm sitting here thinking about it. But the biggest thing is awareness and knowing that this exists. And if you don't need it, fine, great. You don't need it. That's amazing. You might need it in the future. If you never
for your buddy who needs it.
Exactly.
Know people who are struggling, man. We've all got at least one person in our immediate circle who we're concerned for. Like exactly. I've got a few. And yeah, this is the kind of stuff that they need.
Yeah. Like they say, like knowledge is power. And, like also in this case, like knowledge is literally life-saving. Like if you know someone that's struggling, you reach out to them, they're like, hey, like I just listened to this podcast and they're talking about TeleMYND. You should probably look into it. And they go and start seeing help. That could be the switch that person needs.
Yeah. At buzzwords, free, low wait times.
Yeah. Yeah. Covered by insurance, like that. comfort of your own, wherever you want to take the call. So those are, those are really big. And like my biggest push right now is awareness, getting people to know that it exists. I'm not going to be like, oh, this many people need to like my post or whatever it is. Like that stuff doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is I just want you to know that it's there. I want you to know that it's there, and I want you to tell your friends about it. And then, go from there. Use it next week, use it a year from now. But as long as you know that resource exists, that's really all that matters.
Yeah. And then the other part, the hard part, this is really the hard part, is getting people to do it. Getting people to finally pull the trigger, just fucking do what they got to do to take care of themselves. That's hard, man. Like I've told this story on this podcast before. So, if you're listening and you've heard this before, forgive me for repeating myself. But no, the first time I went to the VA for help was hard, man. My now ex-wife at the time was begging me for years to go. And I finally went, and I get inside, and before I even made it to the reception desk, I was hiding in a fucking bathroom stall crying, because walking through the doors meant that I couldn't ignore what I was going through anymore. I couldn't just bury it, swallow it, drink it away. I had to acknowledge, hey, I'm here, so this shit is real. And that's a challenging process. What do you tell someone who knows they need the help and maybe isn't being honest with themselves about how badly they need this help, and doesn't want to stand up and pull the trigger?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the, like that Shia LaBeouf video where he's like, do it.
Just do it!
Exactly. Like, and every veteran, every service member is different on how they take things in and how they make a decision. For some people, you need to hit them with information like 5 to 8 times for them to finally execute on it. For other people, you actually need to go there with them. Like, fuck it, like take your friend to the VA. Be like, I will come with you. Like, let's go. So you're not there by yourself and doing this shit by yourself. Like make an appointment with them. But like we talked about before, it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. And you might seem, okay, well, my mental health is getting better, but it's really not. It's translating into other things. It's translating into not sleeping. It's translating into drinking to an excess, or smoking to an excess, or picking up other bad habits that, you may not have had before, all because you didn't want to get checked out by the VA. Like, you know what I mean? So that's the biggest thing. It's just like learning. And for, if a spouse is listening to this, or, a dependent is listening to this, like a son or a daughter or something like that, that is a hard conversation to have with a service member who was brought up that, like, suck it up, lower your standards, you're like, don't be a bitch. They were brought up like that. And it doesn't matter if they did 4 years or 30 years, that was instilled into them from day one at boot camp.
So here's the one thing I'm going to push back on there is I wouldn't say it's a matter of lower your standards. I'd say it's a matter of raise your fucking standards, man. Mm-hmm. Raise your fucking standards. Raise the standard to which you expect to be treated, to which you expect to feel. Because a lot of us have this like presumed notion of what baseline for okay is. Like, I don't know if this has happened to you, but I've gone into, mental health services. It's usually when I'm there against my will, which has happened a couple times. And they're like, all right, so, scale of 1 to 10, what's your quality of life? And I'm like, I don't know, 7 or 8. And they're like, really? Okay. How many hours a night do you sleep? 2 or 3. Really? How many drinks a day? I don't know, 7 or 8. Really? How often do you cry? I don't know, a couple times a day. So you're at a 7 or 8 quality of life? Really? Yeah. You'd call that a 7 or 8? Okay, maybe we do need to raise our standards.
Yeah.
It is a matter of raising us. No, you know what? I deserve better than this. I should feel better than this. Yeah. I should live a higher quality of life. So raise your fucking standards, guys.
Yeah.
Expect better for yourself.
Yeah.
And realize that through TeleMYND, we can raise that bar.
Mm. And I mean, it's honestly like, once you start, it's kind of like when I was being med boarded out. It was horrible. The med board process, just getting out of the military in general, was horrible. The med board process is even worse.
I'm sure.
But like, when I was getting out, it felt like this elephant was just like sitting on my shoulders every day. I'm like battling with the VA, and I'm battling with my chain of command, and I'm trying to get into appointments and paperwork and making copies and all this other stuff. But like once I had that DD-214 in my hand, it was like, it's over, like that's it. And like that elephant is gone. And it's the same thing like this mental health stuff. You have to go in and you have to get your referral, and you have to get in and get that appointment. But once you log in and that provider is looking at you and they're asking you questions, you kind of have to do two things. Like, one, you have to be honest with yourself and you have to open up to them because you're already there. You know what I mean? Like, don't waste your time and don't waste that provider's time. Actually get the fucking help that you need. Be honest with them. Be truthful with them. Say exactly what's on your mind, because that's the only way you're going to be able to fix it. Yeah. Again, that's like going to the hospital, with a broken wrist and saying, oh, it's not bad. I think like my shoulder's feeling a little bit of pain. Like, that's not going to help you. If you don't tell them your damn wrist is broken, they're just going to give you some icy hot for your shoulder and send you on your way. So once you get through those doors and you're sitting in front of that provider and you're looking at them through the camera, be open, tell them everything. Don't hold anything back. If you're an active duty service member, a lot of people worry, I'm going to lose my clearance. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to get kicked out of the Navy. Fuck it. Lose your job. Lose your clearance. Get kicked out of the military, not just the Navy. Get kicked out or be med boarded out.
Wow.
Because what's important is your health. And I tell everyone, the military is not forever. Doesn't matter if you come in as an E1, get NJP'd a few times, leave as an E1 after a few years. It doesn't matter if you come in and you become the most senior enlisted or the most senior officer in the military that there is. You're going to get out eventually. You're going to be out. And behind you is going to be all that bullshit of standing watch and, being woken up and leaving your family, and all that shit will be behind you. What's in front of you is going to be your family. And your family needs a healthy mom, dad, aunt, brother, sister, whoever. They don't need a service member that is, too nervous or afraid to go seek help, to get better. Like, it's time to start living your best life. You know what I mean? Like, it's time to start actually living. Like, go get the help that you need. Start feeling better so that your family's quality of life will be better too.
Yeah. Because that takes a toll on family members when they're living with just a fractured shell of a fucking human being. Especially when they remember what you used to be like before, the military broke you. That's rough.
Yeah. And honestly, like, there's no shame in the medication game. Like, I know a lot of veterans that are like, oh, like, I don't want to take that. I don't want to take this pill or that. But if the provider comes to you and they're like, hey, we think that this is really going to help you, try it. It might actually help. Like, I did it and they prescribed me like a mild antidepressant, and, I didn't believe in it and I didn't think that it was working. And then I noticed that my mouth was so fucking dry. Like, have you seen Me, Myself, and Irene?
Yeah. I know.
Like, where like his mouth is like, yeah, exactly. Like, that's what it felt like. And I'm like, oh my God, is this thing working? And it doesn't matter how much water you would drink, your mouth would just absorb it immediately or evaporate. I don't know how that works. Like, I'm not a doctor. But like, it was wild. And then I noticed that some of the shit that would bother me before, now I'm like, all right, whatever. It is what it is. Like, or I would freak out over like kids' toys all over the floor, or, whatever it is. And then once I started doing that, I started looking at it like a different light. Fuck it, let the kids' toys be on the floor. 10 years from now, when they're out of the house, you're going to wish there was a little bunny on the floor somewhere, or there was like a sandal somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, it gave me a totally different perspective on like, like life, like every day, on how I see things and like the scope of things, and, how I bring things in. And I mean, at least I think that like the quality of life for my kids has improved. Like, I noticed my son, he would like pick at his skin a lot. Like, if you have a scab, he would like constantly like peel it off, or he was like picking his nails or something like that.
Yeah.
And I noticed that now that has decreased significantly.
I'm sure it was, probably like some kind of nervous tick.
Yeah. Yeah, and like that has gone down significantly, and they're much happier. And again, even though the service member is struggling with it or the dependent is struggling with it, that's going to trickle down to whoever's around you. Because if you have that, that mindset, again, you're putting that on your kids, you're putting that on your wife, on your husband, whoever, and they're going to start getting affected by it too. So it's not just yourself that you're hurting and that, that's struggling when you're going through this. It's other people around you.
Yeah. Yeah. If no one else, do it for the people you love. If you don't love yourself enough to get help, fuck you. Get help for the people you love.
Yeah. And, I will say that like once I started talking about this and I started making posts about it, I've received messages, everything from, hey, like I've been waiting for 2 months for an appointment. How do I get this switched over to TeleMYND? And I'll tell them like, hey, just, I don't want to like quote it because every, branch is different and everything. I'd be like, hey, just call the PCM and ask them. Sometimes that works. Sometimes I would have to go in to see the PCM again and get the referral switched over. I've gotten messages from people saying like, I had my first appointment and it was like unbelievable. It literally feels like a weight has been lifted off of my shoulders. So it works. It definitely works. And I always ask permission, like, hey, can I post your message so other people can see that it works? And, most of the time they always say yes, as long as I like remove their name and everything. So it's not just like some BS, you know what I mean? It's not like some pyramid scheme out there, you know what I mean? Where like I'm trying to recruit people in and reaching out to my high school friends, like, would you like to make a 6-figure income? But, like I know
Be your own boss.
Yeah. I know I haven't spoken to you in 14 years, but how would you like to be your own boss and make your own schedule? It's nothing like that, like you could decide not to do it. You can decide to do it. It's on you. You're the one that ultimately has to make the decision, but know that you as a service member, dependent, spouse, whoever, you have an entire network of people that are ready to jump in and help you and guide you through this process. Just know that you're not by yourself and you're not going to be the first person to do it. You're not going to be the last person to do it. And if you get to that point to where you're like, I don't know if I should do this or if I should speak to someone, just reach out. You could reach out to me. You could message me at any point. My phone number is public all over the internet right now. I only have one phone and one phone number. Like reach out and talk to others and get that like comforting feeling of like, yes, let's start the process. Let's do it.
Nice. I love it, Matt.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man. Like I said, it's life-saving. So whatever does that, I'm all bliss.
Before I let you go, give me one thing, anything that happened to you that, sucked at the time, but you look back and laugh at fondly. The kind of shit that used to drive you insane when you were in the military, but you miss today, the part of the circus that you miss.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, like standing watch, like that would be the best thing to bring up because like
standing watch.
Well, I don't miss it, but if I think about it now, I laugh about it. I'm not going to be like, damn, let me go stand outside my house for 4 hours from midnight to 4 a.m., like I have cameras for that now. But like whenever I was on watch, like let's say in the engineering plant, I'm not on watch by myself. I'm on watch with 13 other people who are also in the suck at the same time.
Delirious from sleep deprivation.
Yeah, and some of the conversations that we would have and the things that we would get into, and one watch we're fighting and we don't want to talk to each other and we're just like cursing and like throwing things or whatever it is, and it's like, man, fuck that guy, I'm not going to talk to him anymore. And then the watch bell comes out, we're on watch again from midnight to 6 o'clock in the morning, and we're right back to being best friends. We're talking about like what we're going to do when we hit port, and we're talking about things back home, and we're talking about issues that we're going through. So like that's the thing that like I kind of miss. And again, like going back, like once you walk into that VA in that waiting room, that's all of them. They're there. It could be a Vietnam vet, it could be a vet that just got out 2 years ago, you're going to be able to align with them. They might give you some shit like, doubt these days, that's the fake Navy. Like you light off a ship by pushing a button and the turbines move you through the water. When it was me, I was lighting boilers and this and that. But like, that's all part of it. You know what I mean? Like that's the best part. Give it back to them. Like give some shit back to them. And they've all worn like the cloth of the nation, that, you know, they all have that same military background mindset, and you could align with them. So yeah, I would say like the one thing that I kind of miss is like the watch standing and just being able to interact with people that are in the trauma bonding. That's exactly that's the best way to put it. I miss trauma bonding because those bonds, I mean, I have a neighbor, never spoken to them. Never. I don't even think I waved to them. No, not once, you know. Just the other day, my buddy from 10 years ago texted me and he was like, hey man, what's up? What's going on? We should meet up. And like, I've met up with him before, and it's like, I haven't seen you in 10 years, but it's like, you know, the last time we spoke was yesterday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I missed the trauma bonding. I should probably get into some trauma and like bond with some people. Maybe that's just the type of person that I am.
Yeah. Or just, you know, meet new people and trauma dump on them and see if they reciprocate and trauma dump back on you. Yeah. That can be a form of trauma bonding.
Yeah. I'd be like, I'll drive and then drive like 150 miles an hour so that we're all traumatized when we get out of the car and stuff. Don't recommend. Don't.
Yeah. No. Hey.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Don't do that. All right. Outstanding. Grant, TeleMYND. What is it? TeleMYND.com. TeleMYND.com.
Just like on the shirt. I had to wear the branded shirt. You know, I will say this, it's nice, you know?
That shirt is sexy.
Moisture wickening.
Ooh.
No, I've been sweating while on this. You know, I always sweat a little bit when I talk a lot.
Sure.
I don't even feel it on the shirt. I'm not saying that you're going to be able to get one, but I'm just... Feels good.
You start a program, refer enough people, and you get a t-shirt. Oh, shit. Now we're bordering on that pyramid scheme. We don't want to do that.
That is kind of like getting into the... But hey, if it works, you know, like if it works, it works. Like shit, I will make you a personal shirt. If you reach out to me on Instagram and you're like, hey, I referred this many people to TeleMYND, I'll make my own shirt if I can send it to you. I don't care. Like out of my own pocket. It's not like TeleMYND is gonna, you know, like give me money to send a shirt to someone. I will go and buy you a damn shirt. I'll put whatever you want on there. You know,
okay. How many people does someone have to refer to get the shirt off your back?
Ooh,
right. Sweaty, unwashed.
So the last time I sold one of my farts in a jar, I sold it for about $50. So no, I'm kidding. No, there's no number on it. You know, I don't care what you do. If you guys ever, you know, need anything or need any help or anything like that, you know, feel free to reach out to me. And if I can help, I definitely will. If I can't, I'll try to find someone who can.
Nice. Well, I'm hoping at least, you know, signal boosting you on the podcast is at least worth a pair of your socks.
Absolutely.
Outstanding.
Yep.
I want you to run at least 2 miles in them first.
Oh, we'll do.
Medically sealed, right in the bag. Don't let them breathe at all.
No, I'll vacuum seal those things.
Outstanding. All right, cool. Grant, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Thank you so much for sharing TeleMYND with us. TeleMYND, of course, is now one of our sponsors. So you'll be hearing a lot about them. They're on board with us. Got a good partnership going. I think we're going to do great things.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Outstanding, man. Take care.